Hey, it's Sean and Mike, brew-shoes.com. We have two different beers. Two different beers or the same beer?
It's the same beer,
but doctored.
This is my red lager up on the board. And I doctored half of it to try to create a very, I guess off flavors aren't popular, but an off flavor that, I doctored the one on the right. I doctored it in such a way to try to create an off flavor that I think we should all try to learn to be familiar with. And I used the red lager because it's malty, there's a lot going on in there.
Yeah.
We've talked a little bit in the past about how everyone tries to do these experiments with like the lightest beer possible because there's nothing to hide behind.
Sure.
But I have an alternate theory these days, which is there might not be much to change either in a beer like that. So I just figured we would try this. I've got a lot more things on my mind, these types of experiments, but I just wanted to see if you can pick out, it's subtle, and we've had these beers out so they warm up a little bit, but
I'll tell you, the one on the right, I can smell a difference.
Okay.
There's like a sherry-like note to it.
You are so close. I didn't put sherry in it, but you are very close.
That's what I thought you did. Like,
so, yeah, okay, great.
Go ahead.
I'm going to give it a taste here.
But there's like, is there like an oxidation or?
You are on the money.
Okay. Well, then that's what it is. Because like, I didn't taste it yet either, but like, this smells like a lot of the beers I made way back in the day. Like,
yeah, okay, great. So let me describe what happened.
All right, tell me more.
So this is the red lager that we've been drinking, and I really do like it. It's aging a little bit to the point where it's like extremely malty.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if I love it as much as I used to, but when it's super cold, when I'm editing videos, I love to drink a pint of this.
There you go.
Anyway, so what I did is I wanted to test out what does oxidation really taste like.
You shoot up with oxygen?
No, so what I did is I took a pitcher and I poured off from the keg, right from the kegerator. I poured a pitcher of the beer.
God, that tastes like things I've brewed before.
I poured a pitcher of lager, and I set it on the table, and then I poured another half pitcher because I wanted to have enough volume.
Yeah.
And I let it sit out here on the table while I did some other cleaning projects, and I kegged some other beer. I poured a little bit back and forth as I could to try to introduce a little oxygen into the beer. So it sat for about maybe 3 hours out. So I also tried to keep it subtle. I mean, I could have really gone crazy with it, but you'll hear next step. So I did that, and then I very sloppily, I opened the keg, no purging of the keg, and I poured the pitchers of beer into the keg. Poured it in, just splashed it in there.
Yeah.
I sealed the keg. Then I put a heat belt on the keg to try to accelerate the oxidation process. I didn't purge the keg. After I sealed it, I purged it, plugged it in, and I let it sit overnight with the little heat belt on it, just to try to get a little heat on there too. Now remember, the headspace now, this was about 1.5 gallons of beer in a 5-gallon keg.
Yep.
Then the next day I took the heat belt off, gave it a few shakes just to roll it over a bit in the O2 environment, and then I hooked it up to the CO2. And I didn't do a bunch of purges, but I hooked it up to CO2. I chilled it and hooked it up to the CO2 to get it to carbonate it. So bring it back to the same carbonation level that the primary beer is sitting on. So that was my way of trying to force some oxidation flavors. Yeah. Now the funny thing is, in a malted beer like this, what's the hallmark word that people use to describe in the books oxidation?
No, cardboard.
Cardboard and paper. Yeah. But a lot of people also report that note to sort of be like sherry-like. I can't believe you used that word. It's actually excellent. It's right on the money. Yeah, it's right on the money. So I get it, like at first, you can taste, there's just like a strange change in the malt aroma that has like a...
It's like a raisiny...
Yes, raisiny is another word.
Dark, like dried fruit.
The malt character here is just a little brighter, just a little crisper.
Yeah.
I think if this keg sits, I mean, maybe if I want to hold, I probably won't hold on to it all that long. I can't use up fridge space to just hold on to an oxidized beer. But a month from now, even at cold temperatures, it might be, see if the difference gets even more. But I think you're on the flavor. There's a little bit of that sherry.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more caramely. It's a little bit more, you know.
It's not off-putting, but like, for the beer style that this is, if you gave me this, I'd be like, no, this is off the mark.
Yeah.
You know?
So the thing is, I'm trying to figure out if I experienced this on its own without, would I taste it and go, you know what? I think this beer's a little oxidized. I don't know.
Probably not.
But now that I know what it tastes like, so that's why I wanted to do it, because we talk a lot about oxidation. Everybody talks about oxidation. But how do you know you've really tasted oxidation if you haven't tasted not oxidation in a very similar sample? So I think I might try to do this again in a couple other beer styles.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got that stout. I'm really enjoying the stout that I have back here, but I don't really want to oxidize a gallon and a half of that. But it might be interesting to see how that goes. And then taking one of the lighter beers and doing it too. And actually having all three of those beers lined up here just to taste the palate range. You know, a lot of people do these experiments, either on podcasts or on other videos, other channels. But they do like Helles, or they do this beer or that beer. But I'm always wondering, if you're really going to test the variable, you've got to have like a dark, an amber, and a pale.
Yeah.
To really understand how those ingredients are affected by these off flavors. So this is how I've mentally figured out how to force some oxidation. I want to try to create more beers that have other off flavors too.
So this is even your partial experiment too. So you're saying like the ultimate thing would be light.
The ultimate thing would be for me to have
light amber, dark.
Yeah, to have either like a golden ale or like a Helles or a Kolsch or something.
Yeah, something light.
Something amber, something in the mid-range, brown ale, whatever, and then something super dark.
Yeah.
Like I wonder how would black malt fare here? Because sometimes for me, I've had certain stouts, you've had certain porters where it tastes okay, but that black malt is like really raisiny.
Yeah.
And is that because there's a bunch of Crystal 120 in that beer, or is it because it's been oxidized?
Yeah.
It's hard to tell.
It's hard to tell.
I mean, so if you were tasting this in competition, if you were judging it, you might now, with a slightly better educated palate, go, you know, there might be some oxidation here.
Definitely on the style. Like, yeah, the thing is, what this tastes like a lot is some of those big beers that have like say a big. It's like there's a couple of thoughts I've had. Number one, this tastes like a big ale that has a lot of like dark crystal malt in it.
Yep.
Okay. Because I'm getting a lot of like that pruny. Like raisin isn't even like a great descriptor. It's like a prune kind of taste. That's number one. Number two, I wonder if like, I know these are lagers, but like the whole like old ale, you know, kind of like the original porter, where they were like blending like
certainly in a stronger beer, a stronger flavored beer, we sort of accept a little bit more of that oxidation flavor, right?
Yep.
And the cool thing about being slightly darker though, there isn't a visual cue. Right, where we know that you can turn like a New England IPA dark pretty quickly, supposedly with oxidation. We should try that sometime. But who wants to burn like all that hot material, you know?
Yeah.
So anyway, I thought this was a cool experiment.
This
it
is
worked
a
out
very
good.
cool experiment. I'm glad I was able to pick it out, because I mean, even on the nose, I could easily decipher that this on the right was different than this on the left. This, you still get like a good hop presence on the nose too.
Yeah.
You know, where this, it's like, it's overwhelmingly.
Yeah, I just get like I want to think about like that cardboard paper thing. I don't know if that's how I would describe this oxidation, but the malt is just flabbier, right? It's just a little, you can almost argue maybe this was made with less fresh ingredients or something, right?
You could say that too.
But one way or another, you can just say it's not crisp, it's not as vibrant as you want it to be if you were judging it that way. If maybe you couldn't peg it as oxidation, but that's, pretty good deal. Maybe I'll just take the keg out of the fridge and save the fridge space and just let it come back to room temperature and let it sit for another couple of weeks. Yeah. And maybe we could try it again and just see if it gets a little bit more. Because I'd really like to know like how bad can it be? Because I think the other thing too is like I tried to keep it somewhat subtle. I mean, the heat belt was to try to accelerate it along. But what would it really be like a month from now? Because then you'd be like, okay, now that's oxidation. And then maybe you can work yourself backwards to think, what would it taste like more subtly, right? So,
well, it goes to show that, you got to be good with those transfers. You got to be good with the racking practice. Yep. Because, well, I mean, again, you forced this.
Yes. So actually, so this is a good thing too that we can chronicle forever in a video. Yeah. Is sometimes I see in forums, people go, oh, my beer didn't carbonate. I bottled all my beer. I added priming tabs or whatever, but it didn't carbonate. Should I open the bottles, pour them back in the bottling bucket, and add sugar? You see a lot of newer people, like, this is essentially what I did. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Is I poured a bunch of beer out, let it, and then I dumped it in a keg, and you know, so I reintroduced it to the open air for a bit.
Yep, so, and that changed the entire flavor profile of the beer.
Yeah.
All right, great experiment. I think I learned more about oxidation in this particular sitting than I have in my entire homebrewing career. Thank you.
We're winning in 2020. Awesome.
We'll see about that.
It's still early?
I'm saying very early in the year. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up. Please subscribe to our channel. We appreciate your attention and your time. We love doing this, and the more and more encouragement we get, you know, the more we'll do these things.
Tell your friends.
For John and Mike, brew-shoes.com, brew on.
Cheers.